You are now live with Dylan Kimlin.
Hello everyone, Dylan Kimlin here. I've been requested to get back into video editing and producing solo content for you all. I've had a couple of you reach out in the last month or so and just wonder what's going on. There's been a bit of a shift, I guess, in the Australian media space regarding pickleball and videos themselves. You know, there's not that much coming out currently. Obviously, the Slam Jam fellas are flat stick doing their thing, but that's more or less it. Bit of housekeeping before I get into today's video, and what I will be covering in this video is the National Pickleball League and sort of where we're at as we are now past the halfway point of the season. Dinks Up podcast. So obviously I run the podcast with a couple of fellas from the Australian pickleball scene. You may have noticed that we haven't done a video in quite a while. There's a reason for this. I'm not going to go into the deeper details, but effectively several members of the podcast have been asked to not talk anymore. They don't want them promoting their opinion on certain topics. I'm going to leave it at that. I despise this. I think everyone in the Australian pickleball scene should have an opinion and should be able to express that opinion. And to have these fellas effectively silenced does not sit well with me. But as a result, the podcast has, we've put it to the side for the time being. I'm not saying it's done, but obviously I love and respect all the fellas greatly, and I would never want to put their external interests in jeopardy. So as a result, we've just laid it down for the time being. But that means I'm going to get back into doing more solo content, like the video I'm doing today. So long form videos, I'll be putting out more information about the Australian pickleball scene. Obviously, I cover just about everything, and hopefully the other media groups within Australian pickleball don't run into the same issues that we have. Because God forbid someone has an opinion and other people don't like it. It's not a good thing. So, what I'll be covering today is the NPL, so National Pickleball League. I have noticed that there's been, dare I say, a lack of media coverage of the NPL. I obviously do the Green Zone with Ash Williams. I've covered the NPL basically since it started, doing tournaments, and originally the Super broadcast with the Sockman Brad. And now we've transferred it to the Green Zone with Ash Williams. It is, to put it bluntly, it's quite revolutionary what we can do. So we work with a broadcasting group called SportsFot, and they are phenomenal. So if you haven't had the chance to watch the Green Zone, I will say straight off the bat, it is different to a traditional pickleball broadcast. So what we do is we cover 3 states at the same time. So New South Wales, Queensland, Victoria. And we have, I think it's 12 courts being filmed all unanimously, all at the same time. So just wrap your head around that, just the logistics of it. It's a nightmare. And Ash and I can jump from match to match. So we might see, the Heat play in New South Wales, bounce across, and we can watch one of the teams in Victoria go head to head, let's say the Sharks. And then we can jump to Queensland and look at the Opals and just bounce between matches as they see fit. Now, the purpose of this is so that we can see constant high-intensity pickleball. Obviously, we all play pickleball. We know that not every game is a close one, whereas the Green Zone focuses on all the pickleball that we watch is all of the close matches. So we will jump in the middle of a match if it starts getting quiet. And it's exciting to commentate, really keeps us on our toes, but the main thing is that for you viewers at home, it's just constant action, which is pretty cool. I've got to respect Ron and David from the NPL because they've just got a different way of looking at the broadcast from the Australian pickleball scene. They've got a lot of big plans ahead for broadcasting all of our players. And for someone who pioneered broadcasting within the Australian pickleball scene, I can only tip my hat to them. It's a phenomenal effort. So But yeah, quite a few of you asked me about NPL. Like, what is it? What do we do? And hopefully, I can shed some light on the season currently and sort of where we're at. Let me say straight off the bat, I fell in love with singles watching NPL. Now, I'm not a singles player. I haven't played tournaments in 3 years or something, 3, 4 years now. But uh, I'm not a tennis player. I was never from a racket sports background. Played baseball back in the day. Definitely not singles ready. Let's say that. So singles, like I always preferred the doubles game in pickleball, playing it and watching it. And watching NPL singles, I quickly fell in love with it. Let's just say that the NPL they've really honed in on singles. Obviously, there is a lot of doubles format as well, but the singles matches are insane. There's no other way of putting it. There are non-stop cat and mouse fights. There are just extreme athleticism. The fitness is off the chain, and you can genuinely appreciate the craft of someone who might be a singles specialist. So keep that in mind. I will, as this video goes through, I'll bring up how all of the formats, the rule book, everything like that for you all at home so that we can learn together if you are someone that's still figuring out the NPL and what it's all about. But I'm a big fan of what they do, and it's been a lot of fun doing the green zone. Now, for my personal content going forward, I will be doing more videos like this, more longer form videos, hopefully trying to just get more coverage, I guess, of everyone in the Australian pickleball scene. I obviously, for me, if you haven't seen me or heard this voice before, I probably should have done this at the start, but my name's Dylan. I'm the lead commentator for the Australian pickleball scene, anchored pretty much every major group in Australian pickleball, and I have taught an overwhelming majority of the commentators within the Australian pickleball scene as well. So, including up until recently, we had the PWR 700, where I had the pleasure of having a bunch of players come in that have not really done media work within Australian pickleball before, and getting more and more voices within the commentary booth. Something I'm very passionate about, and something I hope we can continue doing so. So, we'll dive into the video, and I'll explain a little bit more about the NPL and the format. But remember to subscribe to the channel. Obviously, this channel I've had for a while now, but I'm getting it back going again. And also follow me on social media. So as I'm at pretty much tournament every single weekend, if you are someone that wants to keep you up to date with Australian pickleball, just Dylan Kimlin Commentary and Broadcasts on Facebook and Dylan Kimlin Commentary on Instagram to keep up to date. All right, let's crack into it. Okay, first thing we're going to look at is the NPL rulebook. So there are quite a few of you who have asked regarding this. They're a little bit confused of the format, as the NPL does do things a little bit differently. So the teams this season, they're in a team of 4, 2 males and 2 females, and effectively the players will rotate between singles and doubles. So as we can see up here on the screen, so we play, they're called sets in the NPL. I know traditionally tournaments we call them games, but NPL definitely going down the tennis route here. So let's say we have, a team that has 2 males, player A and player B. So they're both gentlemen. They will play both of their men's singles one after the other, and that counts as a set. So if male player 1 wins his game and male player 2 wins their game, then that means as a set, the team has gotten 1 point or one win for the entire match. And that then follows with women. So obviously the ladies, player 1, player 2, if they both win their games, then that counts as a win for their side as well. Now, if you have 1 win, 1 loss, that counts as a tie. So you don't get a win on your belt. You play a total of 4 sets. So we obviously have gender doubles and then mixed doubles as well, which I'll get into as we go along. But if you get a tie with the opposition, so if you have 2 wins, 2 losses overall in the entire scheme of things with the entire sets system, you'll then go into what's called a deal breaker, which deal breakers are pretty mental, to say the least. Commentating them is really fun. But They are effectively a rotation where you play singles and doubles together in a match playing to 21 with a rally scoring format. Now, it's the big thing here is it's first to 21, so it's pretty hectic. Each set, I guess you could say, or each rotation swaps after 5 points. So you start with singles, so the top male single and the top female single will play. Then it rotates into mixed, rah. You can see it up on the screen. Deal breakers are crazy, to put them bluntly. We had some this weekend on the green zone where they're super competitive. It's really good to watch. Now, for your gender doubles and mixed doubles, how it works is you play first to 22, but the idea is you play mixed pair 1 and then mixed pair 2. So if you're male player 1, female player 1, you're obviously a mixed duo, and then the other 2 will play the other side, and then they follow on. So the idea being that it's an entire team event. So the NPL, I think, took feedback from the players last season. They had 6 players in their format last season, and from my understanding, it didn't work out as well as it could have. Whereas the 4-player format, I think, has been welcomed very positively from what I've heard from the players. So the idea being it's a very, very team-orientated format. You'll notice at the bottom there at the deal breaker, there is no freeze as well, and there is changing. So you will rotate around. The really cool thing about NPL is it's starting to, and this is probably something that a lot of teams haven't even really clicked on yet, but the Australian pickleball scene is starting to get, I guess, venue identities, which is really cool because we're at the early stages of a professional sport. Now, I want you to think of whatever sport you may follow outside of pickleball. So I'll use, tennis, for example. We have grass courts, clay courts. The US Open is completely different to the Australian Open, et cetera, et cetera. Pickleball's getting like that as well. So Redcliffe is where we play Queensland. We play at Oxford Falls Grammar in New South Wales, and then the Jar for Victoria for this season. Now, they have 3 completely different play styles, and that's really cool because of the finals, all of the teams will come together. They're going to be at the Jar, so Victorian teams immediately get a home team advantage, if you will. But Redcliffe has been shocking this season. Like, the venue itself is beautiful, but the weather has been atrocious. We've had cyclones, non-stop rain, a lot of wind. So the players that have played at Redcliffe have really had it rough this season. New South Wales, they're under a nice big roof, but it does have elements of outdoor play, I suppose, like a little bit more wind. The ball might skim a little bit. And then at the Jar is a completely enclosed indoor environment with an outdoor surface. So it plays differently again. And this is really cool because we are starting to see different players from different states play very well in particular venues. Obviously, the best players will do well at whatever venue they're on. But I just wanted to put this in. It's something cool that NPL are really, whether intentional or not, this is a side product of what they've been creating within the season. Now, we have our final round next week, this weekend rather, because it is, it's currently the 12th of the 5th of the day I'm filming now. So this weekend we have our final round and then we go through to finals. Now, finals is really cool. Effectively, the top 2 teams from each state will definitely go through, and then the third team, the team that comes third, they have to battle it out for effectively a playoff position to potentially go through as well. I've covered all of the finals since NPL began, and there has been some historically incredible matches in the finals format. So super excited. We also have MVPs crowned for each state, and then at the end we have like a finals MVP as well. So NPL have been really leaning on the awards. I do have a bit of a suggestion for NPL, and I kind of want to get everyone at home's point of view on this as well later on in the video, just regarding, more, just giving more, I guess, acknowledgements to our players. I personally, little side rant here, but I hate how we have no awards for our players. Like, you think about it, in the Australian pickleball scene, we've never had someone crowned as the top male player, the top female player, ever. Like, we have Australian Pickleball Championships do a couple little awards, but and we do MVPs, but that's it. There's no, number one referee, number one tournament provider, number one. We just don't do any of it. So I do have a little bit of suggestion as we get to the later stage of this video. But as always, leave a comment. Let me know what you guys are interested in regarding just giving people their roses. We all play religiously. We play non-stop. I just think it's time we start acknowledging people that, go above and beyond, both on the court and off the court. So we'll see how that all pans out. Now, with the current ladder, so I'll bring that up here for you all. This here is the combined ladder that you have on your screen. Now, as you can see, there's some very obvious top of the ladder teams, and then unfortunately, some obvious not at the top of the ladder teams. And in the middle is an absolute firefight, which is awesome. So it's very much a traditional sporting ladder, if you will. But it's fair to say that their next round, there's going to be a lot of teams gunning for that third spot to go through to playoffs in the jar. Super exciting. So currently the Heat from New South Wales are top of the ladder. They're just dominant. Outback have jumped the Brumbies as the number one Queensland side. Super exciting there. And the 29ers are currently the number one Victorian team. So I will bring up as we go along just the individual ladders with you all at home so you can see how each state is doing. Actually, I'll put them up there as one big of each state there. So one thing I want to bring up before I go even further into my little rant, just talking about the, I guess, revolutionary aspect of what NPL are providing the Australian pickleball scene, and I don't think a lot of people have recognised this yet, is a thing called LADAR. So LADAR. It's available on the NPL website, and it's simply incredible. If you're a stats nerd or someone that, you want to keep up to date with your favourite players and your favourite teams, this thing is amazing. Basically, when I'm doing the Green Zone with Ash, I can look, let's say I'm covering an event in New South Wales. I can see in real time how the matches in Victoria are going or how the matches in Queensland are going because they're all happening at the same time. This program is simply exceptional, and honestly, everyone should be using something like this. Like it's unreal how handy it is. I can go into each event and see statistics for how each each team are going. As I've got it up there for you at the moment, but it's just mental, and it just makes my job as a broadcaster super easy. I would recommend any tournament providers that want to really up their game to consider something like this because my goodness, is it not handy? Now you can see very clearly there is a win-loss differential and then a points for and a points against. So it brings up a plus minus. Now this is obviously important to see which teams are blowing out other teams. They might win, but really winning is another aspect again that we it just shows who's really dominant here in the Australian pickleball scene for the NPL. So as we are getting to the later stages of it all, I do think it's really starting to show who is the top of the mix as it currently stands. So for Victoria, 29ers and the Roos are, I think they're more or less guaranteed to go through to the finals, with Tide and Adders are closely like they're trying to fight for it. I don't know if Sharks can make it mathematically. I think that'd be close, but unfortunately they had a very close loss in a deal breaker last weekend against the Roos, which they maybe could have put it away, which is a real bummer for the Sharks. Now for New South Wales, the Heat they're literally on an 8-win streak. They have not lost. Just crazy from the Heat. Stingers are there. And then the Dinkers and Bandicoots will be going head-to-head for that third spot, which is really cool. It means next week is just tantalising pickleball. It's going to be so close. And I would highly recommend everyone tune into the Green Zone to keep up to date with it all. Over in Queensland, so the Brumbies and Outback have been fighting it out for top position pretty much all season. I believe the Outback have just pinched top spot. That picture there doesn't doesn't back up what I'm saying, but I think the overall ladder shows the Outback just above. Now, it's an interesting one because the Opals and Boroughs are really close in regards to taking that third spot up. The Opals have jumped up. They've done well. Because, they were in a little bit of a pickle earlier in the season. And obviously, both the Opals and the Boroughs have got some of the strongest women in the NPL. So we do want to see the best at the finals. So we'll see how that all pans out. But as we do get closer to finals, we will know by the end of next weekend, or this weekend rather, we'll know who is definitely going through to finals. So it should be exciting. So for the next little bit, we're just going to go over the team lists and how each team have, I guess, individually been doing. We've already seen the ladder, so you have a bit of an idea of the hierarchy, but at least this way we can sort of bounce through and you can sort of see your players and who's been playing and who hasn't done so well, etc., etc. So we'll start with New South Wales. The Aggies. I've had a soft spot for the Aggies this season. Ash has not. He's been brutal with his assessment of the Aggies and the Comets. I don't know. Maybe Ash and I are good cop, bad cop. I must be like the old mother hen that just wants everyone to do well. Ash is more like the fox in the hen's cage. So, Aggies probably a season there's been some learnings there. I'm not going to go too deep in on you guys. I hope you've, you'll learn from this and hopefully next season you can bounce back in a more positive fashion. I don't believe the Aggies will be going through to finals, which is unfortunate, but that's how the season works out. Now, following them, we got the Dinkers. So Dinkers and Bandies are currently battling for that third spot, as I mentioned. Dinkers have had a pretty solid. I think they're in a bit of a weird spot. So Alex has obviously been in the NPL for quite a while now, and Ash mentioned last weekend like we might need to start seeing some results from him. I think it's really tough in New South Wales because obviously Stingers and Heat are they're crazy good. So taking third in this New South Wales format is still an achievement, I think. So hopefully, if Dinkers and Bandies go head to head, it's going to be box office this weekend coming up. So hopefully, we see the Dinkers get up. But in saying that, the Bandies are in the same boat. So the Bandicoots, I know quite a few of these players. They're all good eggs. Like I know that there's a constant banter between like Ben Beard and Adam Walters, etc. between the Dinkers and Bandicoots, and I love it. It's so good to see. Now the Bandicoots, I think, probably have a slightly higher upside to the Dinkers, very slightly, and I just think it's up and coming potential of some of these players. Like Shannon Spencer, I think's had a solid season. Colin Wong is like surprise packet of the season. If anything, he's like one of the most improved candidates for the New South Wales region. Adam, I messaged him about last week, and he said it's probably a weekend he didn't play as well as he could have. So Adam, I got to put similar to what I said about Alex Tran, like probably got to start delivering the goods, mate. No good. And I had the chance to meet Louise Oxnard in the 700. Seems like a good egg. So I think that's a side that has, I just think, a little bit more upside overall. Obviously, Dinkers, prove me wrong. If you can get it done, good. I'll shout you all a drink at the finals. Now, Comets, low key, they haven't done as poorly as the Aggies. I think the Comets, I've been similar to the Aggies. I've been quietly rooting for you. I want you guys to do well. Obviously, Tyra's a superstar. I think Malman's had a good season too, from what I've seen just regarding the results. Now, the unfortunate thing is with the green zone is because I mentioned that we cover a lot of high intensity, high action matches. If you're on the bottom of the ladder, typically it means your team's not doing very well, which means we don't get to see you too much on the green zone, which sucks, but that's how it is. So unfortunately for the Aggies and Comets, I haven't really seen too much of you guys, but I have seen the results of how your players have gone over the season. So, similar to the Aggies, I hope the Comets bounce back and come back next season with a bit of fire in the belly. But time will tell. Now, the single-handedly, easily the top two teams of New South Wales, Stingers and Heat. Now, I knew after the draft, I pretty much had these two penciled as the top two teams, just because I've covered pretty much all of these players in length across tournaments across Australia. So Stingers are currently in number 2 spot with Captain Kyle Stoker, who recently took the gold medal in the 700 Brisbane Championships like 2 weeks ago. They have a very strong 1-2 punch. So Mickey Hyatt, I said it publicly, I thought she had one of the best 2024s out of any of our players. Once again, no awards though, so the general public probably aren't aware of it. The open scene would, but one thing that the open players tend to forget is that they're only 3% of the pickleball population. So it doesn't matter if you guys know who's good, it's the paying audience that needs to know if you're doing well. So obviously Hyatt continues to improve. I think she's just very solid singles player and continues to deliver the goods. And her and Stoker combining is crazy dangerous. Now, one thing I mentioned earlier about my suggestion for the NPL is how important the number 2 players are. So obviously Hyatt and Stoker are the number 1s for the Stingers, but you got Mickey Massoy and Ryan Morris as the number 2s for the Stingers, who are also doing exceptionally well. So Morris as a number 2 is a really good pick. I think he comes in after Stoker and can take on the other number 2s in a quite a comfortable fashion with his singles prowess. And he's also pretty handy on the doubles court. Mickey Massoy is like one of the legends of New South Wales pickleball. She's been around for quite a while. Very consistent player as well. And I'm not surprised at all to see the Stingers doing so well with her as that more calming presence of the Stingers in the number 2 position. So it's pretty solid for their side. Now the Heat, they're outrageously good. They also have a number 2 1-2 punch of they've got Taruya and Kyron, but in this instance Ben Porphyria I believe has taken the number 1 spot. Now it's pretty scary, the Heat, what they can pull off. Nancy, I said before this season even begun that I think she's skyrocketing with improvement each week, and I wasn't at all surprised to see that she got picked so highly. Now, if you would ask me a question of who's better out of Selena Taruya, Mickey Hyatt, and someone like Summer Alabama, Danielle Townsend, etc., I can't pick. That's a tough conversation, and it's going to be interesting come to the finals to see whether one of those ladies holds the crown over their head. So Heat are very exciting and no doubt will perform well in finals. I don't have any problems with that. And once again, the number 2 position. So both Nancy and whether it's Ben or Kyron, here it says it's Kyron. So they're both done very well this season. So simple as that. Ben Porphyri also had a great season. It's good to see him out there balling out. And like I said, we will see how they go in finals. I think that's where their mind's at now, is just finals bound. Now over to Victoria. Very similar to the Aggies and Comets. We have similar players in Victoria. Now Victoria has probably been the closest group out of all of the areas, in that for quite a while there we had 4 or 5 teams battling for third place. It was pretty crazy. So so for the adders, so obviously Dan Kuznetsov is the captain. All 3 Kuznetsovs are playing in this season, which is cool, which we've seen historically as well. I don't mind the adders. They've got a good all-round team comp, and I think that has kind of been an ongoing theme of the Victorian space, whereas someone like New South Wales, they're relying on their superstars to ball out and then their number 2s to do their job as well. Whereas Victoria just seems to be a lot more even teams, which is pretty cool to see how it all pans out. Gabby May's had a great season. Izzy Papajan has also had a great season. These ladies continue to improve, and once again, the NPL just keeps providing diamonds in the rough for the Australian pickleball scene. I think, these two are quickly climbing up the ranks. The more we see them play, they'll start entering conversations of, I would love to see a top 30 list of the top 30 females in Australia, for example. We don't know who's there because there's no awards for anything. So Timmy K coming in there as the number 2 for the Adders, been a whole lot of banter between obviously having all, because Matt Kuznetsov is the other number 2 for the 29ers. So seeing the brothers go head to head, always a good time in the green zone. Plenty of jokes thrown those fellas' way, but I've got a lot of time for the Kuznetsov fellas. I think they're great for Australian pickleball and entertaining to watch. Now the Roos, I backed them from the start. The general public, from what I've gathered, did not. They are single-handedly probably the dark horse of the season because they have a very much an all-round team. So I'm sure these players are probably humble enough to admit they probably don't consider themselves as like superstars, the top echelon of pickleball. Combination of Kat Vallos and Kat Westbury they're exceptional as a duo. I think the ladies have done very well. Kat Westbury did have an MVP, and Vallos as a captain has been very good. She has a lot of leadership qualities providing for her side, and I'm not at all surprised to see the Roos at a number 2 spot. In fact, I was very surprised that the general public thought that the Roos were going to be a bottom 2 team. That, I don't know. I know I watch like pickleball religiously and watch it every single day, guys, but come on, got to give some respect to these players. Now, Cornish and Chia been serviceable this season. It's going to come down to crunch time whether they can go toe to toe with some of the other really big fellas, those superstar mentions that I was talking about. Someone like a Joey Wild, Harrison Brown, Tom Evans. These guys are going to have to contend with them, and that'll be the test to see whether the Roos can go through far in finals. For your Sharks, so Zach Grab, the captain, good to see him back in health. He obviously has had some health concerns over the past. I don't know if he's at full capacity yet. He's obviously recently in New Zealand and also in Redcliffe. He played quite well. And then this last round, I don't know, he just seemed a little bit off. I'm not too sure what was going on there, but hopefully the Sharks can potentially, next round, I want them to see him go hard because I think they can still potentially make it through for that 3rd spot. Now, Aisha Dang, she was the number 1 female pick for the Sharks. Now, the number 2 pick, if memory serves me right, they've had pretty much subs for a large percentage of their season. Now, Aisha didn't get to play last week, and I don't know if she can play this next week due to a lower limb injury that she suffered at the 700. But, the ladies I think they've had quite a lot of subs within the Sharks, and it's unfortunate. But Zach Grab and I think Pierre's had a great season, and Arola's. Each time we've popped over to the Sharks, he's been playing very, very, very high clip. So it's good to see. Once again, these players that a lot of you at home may not necessarily have heard about on the broadcasting space are getting some coverage. It's great to see, and I hope the Sharks can put in a good performance next week. Now, the Tide with Captain Helena. So I've been notified that both Helena Spirides and Tom Evans will be moving to the States full-time. Obviously, they've had a pretty exceptional year in regards to their own professional pickleball careers. Now, I've covered Helena and Tom more or less since they started at the NPL, and I've watched their improvement as players and as people. It's been really nice to see. Way back at the start, they were kind of because they were the 2 feature NPL players, and they would go to tournaments, and I saw it. I mean, I see things that I don't think players realise. They were kind of treated like the weird cousins of the group. They were just, do your thing. So for them two to be signed and the first effective players to go over to the States representing Australia, I think fantastic. Like, good on you guys. I'm really proud of you both. And I hope that you can have a successful career over in the States because, there's a lot of people that didn't necessarily back you both. Now, regarding this season, the Tide have they probably would have liked a little bit more success than they've had, keeping in mind with Captain Spiridi's travel commitments. Vuk Velicevic, I think hands down, and Ash clearly has an interest in Vuk. I'll leave it at that. If Velicevic actually played pickleball seriously, like consistently, he'd be one of the best in Australia. He clearly plays other racket sports at a high level and maybe prioritizes those. I'm not too sure. I haven't talked to Vuk about this because he is unreal when he's on. Like, it's crazy to watch. So I can understand why Captain Spreedies did bring in Velicevic, but unfortunately the Tide, Vuk just hasn't been there for a lot of it. Emily Martin, consistent as ever. You know, she's typically a player she's similar to Gabby May. You know, like we see them consistently within the NPL. And for the Bunsen burner, you know, Ethan Butson was a captain, was a substitute captain last season. I've followed Ethan for quite a while now. He's good. Like, he's another one. Like, I think Pierre and Rollers was Ethan Butson last season. So where Pierre is now, Ethan's followed that train of thought. Now, Ash did ask the question on the green zone whether Ethan's in the same boat as like who did I mention earlier? Adam Walters or Alex Tran, Josh Chia, these sort of players who have been in NPL for quite a while now. Should they start having results? And I guess that's up to the general public to have their own opinion on that. Ethan, mate, I'm a fan of your game. I hope you do well. I'm not going to be a Debbie Downer here on the video, but yeah, unfortunately, there will start to be a little bit of pressure from the general viewers on our players as their careers progress, and that's professional sports. It's just what comes with it. Now, the Rangers, they're in a weird spot. So, fair to say, their season derailed nearly immediately. I have to give a huge shout out to Brookie Marcy. She's been the only Ranger that's been there pretty much all season. The Rangers' position on the ladder does not reflect her, and I want that made clear. Traskin was not in for whatever reason last week. Ash and I have talked in length on the green zone regarding captains not being there. So, whatever the reason may be, you know, I don't know whether it's a medical thing or they couldn't make it. So, Nerea, obviously, she's in the same boat as Vuk Velicevic. Nerea, very high level padel player, has barely played this season. For whatever reason, the players can't make it. So, and I think that's where we're starting to get to the point with this sport as it does get to a professional level of what's your priorities? You know, if you want to make it as a high level pickleball player, you need to go all in. And I think, you know, if you're an ex tennis player or if you're currently playing other racket sports and that's your priority, cool. But if you are a captain for future seasons and you want to pick someone that might not necessarily be there all the time, you know, these are questions the captains should be considering going forward. And we've now had a couple of years now of drafts. I really hope that captains start taking drafts like really seriously. Another thing is why, you know, where are the coaches at? I think that we should have, personally, every team should have a coach. That's me personally. I think with your drafting, your general day-by-day play, you need assistance. Like, and it's a little bit of an ego check for the captains if you think you don't, because there's always things you can improve on. There might be things you're missing. There's stuff we see on the green zone all the time, and but we're a third party viewing it. Obviously, we see everything. It's a lot easier for us, whereas you guys are on the courts, you might not necessarily get that opportunity. Now, finally, Chris Derby has had injuries. I got a lot of time for Chris. He's a good egg. But once again, it just adds another domino effect to the Rangers of not having players present for their season. 29ers, they are top of the ladder. I thought this team would do amazing straight from the bat. I think general public perception had them like middle of the ground, which I was surprised about. And I think it was mainly to do with the ladies. So, Memory Lelanoa, I said at the start of the season she's due for a breakout year. I also said that about Matt Kuznetsov. And lo and behold, they're top of the ladder. So Obviously, Tom Evans gone over to the States, one of the best in Australia. We knew he was going to ball out regardless. He's really ramped it up. Like last weekend when I was watching, you could see he was very, very vocal with his team, constantly giving positive affirmation, giving tips, righty. He's like an actual captain. He is there with his team till the very end. And once again, congrats going over to the States, but the Australian pickleball scene is going to miss him. Just what he provides. Lelanoa and Ange Green. Ange Green, obviously, superstar from Tassie. She's similar to Mickey Massoy from New South Wales, and then brings that experienced figure to her side. Obviously, a very high level tennis player. It just knows what she's talking about. For her to bring a sort of a mentoring role to Lelanoa, I'm not sure what their relationship's like on court, but they seem to do all right. And Ange played lights out last weekend. So 29ers starting to hit their stride, leading into finals. You know, Tom Evans, he leads successful teams in the past. Will he do it again? We'll see. Matt Kuznetsov for the number 2. Geez, that's a dangerous second pick. Because not only do you have to deal with Tom on the singles, Matt Kuznetsov's one of the best singles players in the country as well. So, very dangerous. A lot of firepower there for the 29ers. Finally, over in Queensland, unfortunately, we haven't been able to cover these guys too much on the green zone due to all the wild weather they've been having, but they have had a pretty interesting season, to say the least. Now, I will say weather has probably affected these results with the Boroughs. So I think it's without a doubt, they have the strongest female duo in the NPL. Sarah Dennehy as captain, Summer Dalabona, outrageous. Summer, in my opinion, is top 10 in the world for women's singles. And Sarah is quickly ramping up the ropes. You know, last season, players like Andy Dikasavovich, for instance, start their career and they just came out of nowhere and terrified everyone. Sarah is in the same position as Andy last season. Crystal Mildwaters is also in that conversation for those type of players. Australia historically produces incredible female players on the pickleball space in regards to just the overall world ranking, I suppose. So those ladies, the Boroughs, I thought, would have done better than they have. They've got Brandon Contrado, who hasn't been in much. I think he's been travelling quite a bit. I don't know how many rounds he's played overall. And Ryan Simmons. Ryan, unfortunately, a bit of pressure on you, mate. I think the Boroughs, if they don't make that third spot, it's going to be, there's going to be some conversations had, I imagine, just around the general scapegoat. Who do we blame here? Because Sarah and Summer have won a large percentage of their singles and as a doubles team. Unfortunately, I think fingers will be pointed at the fellas. And once again, talking about the gentleman earlier, you guys are in that same conversation. So Boroughs will be fighting for the third spot next weekend, and time will tell whether they get through it. Now, the Outbacks are Ash Williams has hands down been a big fan of Outback since the get-go. Harry Brown is the captain. He's a freak. There's no other way of putting it. He is now starting to get in the conversation of, that top, 15, top 10 of the men, I think, in Australian pickleball anyway. Singles, hands down, he's up there for top whatever you want to call it. Like, he's up there for sure. But doubles, obviously, Harry could probably continually try to improve. He's playing with the ignition of the team, Nicky Mao, I respect Nick's game for certain elements. He simply just doesn't care what people think about him. He'll go and light you up on the court, and he picks fights on the court with everyone. Doesn't matter. Entertaining for us as broadcasters, but for a team, you don't mind having someone like that in your corner, because if things are getting heated out there, you want someone that can bring it as well. We've seen Nick historically in finals, etc., light other teams up. And I like the dynamic of those two gentlemen. Now, Crystal Mildwaters, as I mentioned, she has to be up there as most improved player, or as a rising star. I did ask this question to Ash, whether we should have a rising star award for this season. To me, Crystal would most likely be it. considering it's her first year, I've talked. Obviously, I worked at Redcliffe. I know Chris Novich, her coach, very well, and Chris reckons Crystal's like she has the best work ethic out of anyone in Australian pickleball. So, I've seen like Jason Taylor, for example, has an unreal work ethic. If Crystal's anywhere near that, then the sky's the limit for this young lady, and I'm excited to see what the Outback can do. B Horsley, it's good to see her get some results. B's a very solid player. I was very impressed with her 2024, and not at all surprised when Crystal and B were sort of combined. It was like, geez, that's a scary combination. If Crystal proves herself, and she has. So the Outbacks be going to that top 2 space, and they'll be hoping for a deep run in finals. Now the Setters, oh boy, the Setters are in the same position as the Reef. Unfortunately, they're the Aggies and Comets of Queensland. Captain Dagmar, Adam, I don't know what's going on with Adam, man. Like he in tournaments, he does well, but historically in the seasons, it just doesn't happen for him. Now I don't know how much Lexi Contrado's played this season. I don't know the exact amount of time. Similar to some of the teams I mentioned earlier on the green zone, we haven't had the chance to actually cover the Setters too much. Kirsten McCorkindale hasn't had the results she's probably looking for. And Tarn, I know Tarn would be furious with how the Setters are going because he's a super fiery competitor. So, yeah, unfortunate for the Setters. Their season's more or less done, and hopefully they can come back next season individually and hopefully have the goods. Now, the Opals, they had drama straight off the bat. I spoke to Matt Carter about it. I don't want to go into full details of it, but he was replaced by Ben Costin. Doesn't sound like that was a healthy exit for his side, we'll say the least. But for Captain Townsend, obviously one of the big signings for the NPL this season, she's one of my favourite players to watch. She's a superstar, one of the best in the country, no doubt about it. Getting the Fog, the man with the van, Daniel Fogel-Kulich, I would have thought straight off the bat, those two, that's like, geez, that's a good pairing. I think they would have done well. Deb Rossi coming in as well. Now, Rossi, a lot of people probably don't realise this, won Queensland MVP last season with the Parrots. She was an incredible captain, and I'll be dead honest, I was really surprised that she didn't get captaincy again. So when Townsend picked up Rossi, I was like, yep, no-brainer, makes sense. And yeah, unfortunately, they're just stuck in the middle. They're similar to Burrows in a way. Like I would have expected their team to do better than they have. But unfortunately, the Outbacks and Brumbies are just running amok at the moment. We'll see if they can catch up. But yeah, tough. That third spot, I think it's out of the Burrows and Opals. It really comes down to who shows up next week to take it. Now the Brumbies, they've been top of the ladder for pretty much all season. They lost it last weekend to the Outbacks. Captain Joey Wild, top 3 in Australia, hands down. You know what you're going to get with him with doubles and singles. Picked up Lindsay Baker, which was she was the finals MVP last season. I actually said at the 700 a couple of weeks ago, who has more of a potential out of Sarah Dennehy and Lindsay Baker. I said that Sarah does currently, but if Lindsay continues, she's got a lot of upside. So I wasn't at all surprised that Joey drafted Lindsay, and their results show that it was a good pick. Leona Quinn, she's been playing for quite a while now in Australian pickleball. Has a very mature approach to pickleball, and I think, her and Joey are very same in regards to temperament. For a fact, like some of these other teams, they may have dramas internally. Brumbies, I reckon those guys would be super relaxed. Like Caden, Lindsay, Leona, and Joey, they're all pretty chill. I mean, Lindsay's probably, when she fires up, you definitely know where she is. But they are, nothing will phase this team. Caden Hansel unfortunately missed out last week. And, I hope he comes back for finals because Brumbies will need him. But I believe they had, was it Jake Winan came in for the Brumbies? Great sub, by the way. Jake's definitely someone that needs to be drafted next season as we go through. So the Brumbies will be there in the finals. Them and the Outback are pretty much locked in, and they will be expecting to go through very deep in finals. Now, for the Reef, oh boy, these guys are, I don't know what happened to their season. Like, similar to the Rangers. They just had players not start. They had Captain O'Donoghue and Lou Shackey just they haven't played a game all season. I have to give full credit to Josh Nipris and Liam Jesperson. So at the start of the season, Ash was sort of tearing into Josh a little bit. I've defended Josh. Like I think this season cannot reflect those two fellas because they have had subs since the start of the season, and I do feel for. So Josh was a former captain, and I don't know whether he is the official captain now of the Reef, but I really do feel for him because obviously their team's had an absolute nightmare this whole season. Unfortunately, it's just because they don't have their constant female players; they're constantly getting subs. So yeah, the Reef's results, I don't think it reflects Jesperson and Ipris, similar to Brookie Marcy in Victoria, but unfortunately their season, they won't be going any further, and I hope teams do recognise this next season when they are drafting, that, those three players that I've just mentioned, you can't blame them for their team's results. Like they've just had substitutes every week and it's rough. No good. But yeah, that's a general. Obviously, I could go through to some subs. The only sub I really want to bring up with you all is Sahil Dang. So he comes in at. He's been playing in Victoria quite a bit. If Crystal Mildwaters is, I guess, the most improved award of the year, or the Rising Star, if you will, Sahil Dang has to be Rookie of the Year, like hands down. He has had an exceptional year, and for you gentlemen, especially in your singles format, he is one you actually got to keep an eye out for. It will not be long, I don't think. Give it a year, and this gentleman will be tearing up tournaments left, right, and centre. Very high upside, and just a great person too. He's a good egg. So another one to watch for the NPL. Okay, so the final part of this video, we're going to go over the awards part of the season, and then just general ideas of potentially how we can finish out the season in style. So MVPs. One thing that the NPL do every single week is they produce a male and a female MVP for each state. Obviously, these are collected over time, and I imagine, I don't know for fact, but I imagine they will have an influence on the overall MVP for each state. So I'm just going to run through the lists for you, and once again, I'm just all about giving players their roses. So for week one, we didn't have Queensland. Unfortunately, they had the Cyclone, I believe, for the first round. But in New South Wales, Mickey Hyatt and Kyle Stoker got the MVPs for their state. For Victoria, we had Zach Grabovic and Westbury. I did mention that I thought Westbury's had a great season thus far. She obviously started it with a bang. Now, for the second round, we did have Queensland play, thankfully. New South Wales had Selena Taroya and Kyron Lavers. Victoria had Isabel Papazian and Tom Evans. And Queensland had Lindsay Baker and Joey Wild. So you will see that typically the MVPs do get given to teams that do well. So there's a good example of teammates that play together that are both receiving the MVP awards. Now, the final round. Now, keep in mind, I know when this video gets released, you guys may already have the MVPs for round 4. I don't know the MVPs for round 4 yet, so I'm just doing up to round 3. For round 3, in New South Wales, Hyatt got her second MVP. Colin Wong also got an MVP. I did give him a big shout out earlier. I thought he's had a great season thus far, and clearly the voters agreed with that. For Victoria, Brookie Marcy got one. Great to see. She's getting some recognition with her side. Tom Evans got his second MVP. Queensland, Denny Townsend and Joey Wild got their MVPs. That makes second for Wild. So overall, those guys and girls have obviously had great seasons, and it kind of leads into my discussion piece for you all at home, and it'd be good to get your insights on whether you think this is something reasonable. So, what I've made a suggestion to for the National Pickleball League is if you follow any other, I guess, ball sports, so whether it be AFL or NRL or whatever, we typically have an all-Australian side. Now, I want to do something similar to the NPL. So obviously we play in states, right? So you could have the top 2, top 3 females, top 3 males for each state, best captain for each state. and then they go into a pool all together for an All-Australian, to which I'm sure there could be some sort of award for the All-Australian for the NPL. I'm really big on legacy when it comes to building things within pickleball because we're so young. So, little things like the Australian Pickleball Championships means a bit because it's an old tournament. You're going to be trying to get the results in that. And something like an All-Australian now, it might not seem like much now, but 10 years' time, you'll win it with pride, And this is something that I think, the NPL can really capitalize on, especially considering they're called the National Pickleball League, right? Makes sense. So, yeah, I'd like to see sort of an All-Australian, a couple of awards that I would like to be seen, and I have sort of named them throughout this video. I'd like to see, we already have MVPs, so we can continue with those. I'd like to see a rising star, something that's, maybe it's their player's first season in the NPL, and if they do really well, I'd like to see that. A most improved player, so a player that potentially has already played a season in the NPL and then come out and bowled out in their second year. That'd be great to see. Best captain. We need to have a best captain award. I think captaincy is something that, we don't give enough credit to people that actually take captaincy seriously. It's not easy. And we've seen players in the past that don't want, like they've been a captain and they don't want captaincy because it's demanding. It's not a fun thing. If that's not your personality style, if you don't like the leadership role, you just want to go out and play pickleball, captaincy sometimes isn't a good time. So I think having the best captain would be also awesome. On top of that, probably just like the Player's Choice Award. Too many times do we see in other sports where awards are given, people that aren't necessarily on the court. I'd like to see, even if all the captains got together and they picked their best player from each state or their player that they would like most on their team or something like that, we can make it fun. I just think that'd be something cool to also give, more people some credits. But we have finals coming up in 2 weeks' time. So if you haven't had a chance to watch the Green Zone, probably a bit late in the video for a plug now, but it's on the NPL YouTube channel. It's also on the NPL website. Now, I highly recommend going over the NPL website because it has all the information I just talked about. Finals will be amazing. These teams are so close. Like I can't call it who's going to take it out, and I think the results are going to be amazing. So that'll be over at the Jar in Victoria in a couple of weeks' time. But you at home, if you can't make it in Melbourne, hop onto the broadcast. Come and watch it. It'll be a lot of fun. The weeks for that, as I look at my big calendar, the 30th of May onwards. So the weekend of 30th of May will be the NPL finals, and you can catch that all on YouTube. So it'll be a lot of fun. But this has been a little bit longer of a video than I probably would have liked, but I tend to rant. So if I'm starting to get back into videos, you guys can expect this at home. But it's been a lot of fun going over the NPL of the current season. Like I said, I do want to get into more of these sort of videos. If you guys want anything covered, flick me a message. I constantly have people come up to tournaments and say something, and then I'll start commentating and I'll forget. Just send me a message like, hey, Dylan, it'd be really cool if you could cover this. There are a lot of talking points in Australian pickleball that I think aren't necessarily covered. And I've already mentioned people that I've done media with have been silenced. So there's reason for it. But I'm probably one of the few people in a unique position that can actually cover pretty much everything because I work with everyone. So flick us a message. But as always, follow me on this YouTube channel. Follow my social media pages and follow the NPL. Their social media content is incredible. My goodness. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video, and I look forward to seeing you on the Green Zone. We'll be live this Saturday. Coming up, me and Ash Williams will be in the booth. Good luck to all the teams with your final round, and hopefully we'll see some of you in the finals. Cheers.